arrived on the scene with EMPD vehicles. How does it work? And I ask that because in the preceding paragraph, you say the SAPs were already on the scene. So to have the EMPD come in, how does it work? Is it by invitation? Would there have been a call? Does there necessarily have to be a call for support from the SAPs? Or EMPD is free to just attend any crime scene within its jurisdiction?
Commissioner, normally, if we're operating in the same area, we can arrive at the same time or just after SAPS is on the scene. We can also arrive at the same scene because of our patrols and the way that we react to scenes. It could be that there's a crime reported on the radio and officers from all over respond to the scene. And whoever arrives first on scene, there's a national standing, a national standard for municipal police services of first responder to scene. So if we are the first responder to a crime scene, our function on the scene is to stop the crime and preserve the scene until we can hand over to SAPS, who is then the lead on that scene, forensics and whoever from the detectives and that. However, if SAPS is first on scene, they do exactly the same. They will preserve the scene, and we will not be allowed to enter into a scene if it is there. And I think that's what happened here. This Captain Carla Hartley, it was her scene, and she chased the officers away. So you don't belong into my scene. And it's also outside our area. Delmas is closer to our area, to the border, but it's also outside our area. And we will not respond because everything reported in Ekurhuleni, everything in there, when we respond to scenes, we will respond within Ekurhuleni. If it is outside our jurisdiction, then the city of Johannesburg or the city of Tshwane would invite us formally to say, please come and help this operation, or we're going to have an intergovernmental relationship roadblock. We need extra manpower, please send people, and then there's a full operation plan and approval before we actually deal with these scenes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloyi. I had invited you, Commissioner, to then deal with your last item on this table, item number 7.
This was the most serious remark, and when Mr. Makagula started to mention this, he spoke the most, and Nomsa's added a little bit to it. They immediately stated that there's threats against their lives because of this. There's a very serious investigation that they're doing into a murder case. This murder took place on 15 April 2022 in the Brackpan area, and it's being investigated by IPID already, where it traced back to a body was found in a dam. So initially it was said to us it's Nigel Maryvale Dam in the Brackpan area. Don't know the exact dam, but this was traced back to the same group of officers who was there together with civilians. It's not one of the civilians yet mentioned, so there was a civilians on the site as well. And what was alleged is that they tortured this person on the scene, where they used a method called tubing, which is a piece of rubber that you pulled over a person's face and you suffocate the person. So they tubed this person, and at a stage, the actual the person who he has actually turned state witness. He submitted a 204 application and statement as well. He said that the person who they were torturing and questioning or interrogating, he actually had said to them, but he's got money in the house, 500,000 rand, he'll pay that if he could lose him. And then the next moment, this person, they killed him. And from the scene, they called Brigadier Mkhwanazi after it took place now. And Brigadier Mkhwanazi arrived on the scene in a white Golf. And he then proceeded to direct them how to clean the scene. And they placed the body of the victim on this civilian person's bakkie. And they instructed him to go dump the body, which he then duly did. And then when it came out, and IPID's investigating it, this person who did it, he turned state witness, according to him. He contacted me about 2 weeks ago again to say that he is a state witness. He gave a Section 204 statement to turn state witness, and he's committing everything. And that, so it is a confirmed case of where it happened. And that's one of the reasons as well why we believe that a murder case that's already running for a year investigation, with witnesses, with a body, with everything already there, we thought it's imminent that he would be arrested extremely quickly thereafter. And yet here we are, 2025, and nothing has yet happened. So none of those officers has been charged that we know of. The case does not go forward anywhere. It is still being investigated. That's what my impression is from it. Also from internally, we couldn't do anything against the officers because to us it's hearsay from IPID. They inform us of this, but they're not prepared to give us anything in their docket, which we understand. It's a murder investigation and they don't want to give us anything. But it is, to us, we thought that, that would expedite that the arrest will happen and that the court cases will follow from that as well.
So if the Commission were interested to interrogate the cause of delays in finalizing or prosecuting these matters that you have referenced, you're suggesting it is to IPID that the Commission must turn?
Correct, Commissioners. All our cases where the policemen are directly involved is handed over or taken over. Never mind handed over. It's taken over by IPID. They investigate the police when the police are wrong. So all the matters that we know of, that we mentioned here, has already been in the possession of
your knowledge, this is where these matters stood, which was in February 2025.
Correct, Commissioners.
You have a second part of this evidence where you say since that meeting with IPID, that is the 6th of March 2023, 2 more cases involving EMPD officers have been opened by IPID. You deal with that at page 17. Can you take us quickly through those 2 cases?
The first one is the case where I'm the complainant in. The fraud, the uttering, it's these vehicles that was allegedly donated by CAT VIP to us. I am the complainant in that matter because I initiated the investigation, and I have at that stage in March when we had the meeting with IPID, they allege, but there need to be a complainant in this matter. So I undertook that. I know everything about the case. I'm the one who gave the instruction for the investigation. And up to that stage, with all the knowledge of the separate statements that we have already obtained for an internal disciplinary hearing, I made then the statement as the A1 statement. It was commissioned at Crystal Park Police Station, and it was then handed to Mkhwanazi in his possession, and it was registered at Boksburg as a case number under 26202-2023. This matter is the one that actually kick-started off the disciplinary side on the one side. But in the 2024 year, I don't know the exact date, I heard rumors that this case has been withdrawn, even though IPID constantly have contact with me and tell me that they're still investigating it and they're still obtaining statements from everyone and they're still busy with it. They constantly told me that this case is still being investigated. IPID Mkhwanazi himself, and then from February this year, there was a new investigator, a senior investigator, Kulu. Commissioner, I hope that is the correct pronunciation of he will be cross if I pronounced his surname wrong tonight. But he is from KZN, and he was drafted to come and fix something in the docket, and then he was released again back to KZN, and last month he came back again to do another portion of the docket. But when with a friend of mine then in the South African Police Service, when they look on the CAS system itself, where the case number is registered, that case has been withdrawn on the CAS system by a local South African police officer, a lieutenant colonel, at Boksburg itself in September 23 already. So even though IPID is alleging that they still investigated, they still contact me, they still have dealings where they say they're waiting for this or they're waiting for that. Up to now, on the CAS system, the case has actually been withdrawn as onopgespoor, which is undetected. And this happened in 2023 already on the CAS system.
Before you deal with the next matter, I think you may want to consider a correction to your statement
perhaps before that, have you, Commissioner, have you ever made inquiries as to why IPID is giving you to understand that investigations are ongoing when in fact the docket was closed as far back as 2023?
Commissioner, I have, and I've queried it with IPID themselves as well, and they have told me that they will investigate that as well. 3 weeks ago as well. I asked him specifically as well and say, what's happened with this? And he says, no, he showed me, he's actually had the docket with him. He says, I'm now temporarily the investigator again because there's something else that I need to obtain in this docket directed from the DPP. The reason for it was that the docket was originally registered at Boksburg, and the query came up is that why is it not at Germiston? Because the vehicles were registered in Wadeville. That's where the crime occurred. And my answer to that was it started in Boksburg. Brigadier Mkhwanazi's office, where his police office where he works from, is situated in Boksburg. And it happened all over. So it happened in Boksburg, it happened in Germiston where the vehicle fleet section is, it happened at Wadeville where the registrations was done on Natus, and then when the vehicles were deregistered again from our names, it happened in Silverton in Tshwane. So it happened over the province, and we had to choose a starting point so I started it at Boksburg, because none of the prosecution side wants to touch the docket. I don't know why, but everywhere where you get, they say, no, it's not my station, it's that station. It's not my court, it's that court. So I had to give a statement as to why did I choose Boksburg and that. But I don't have an answer. I have got the officer withdrawn it. I've got his name, but it's been withdrawn on the gas system, and we've reported it to IPID. It was mentioned, and it's been escalated to a national level in the South African Police Service, where we as municipal police have requested at a national level to the National Police Commissioner, where we have requested that a national task team be established to investigate corruption and crime within municipal police departments. And the National Police Commissioner has assigned officers from DPCI and senior officers, brigadiers, to actually assist us to establish a task team so that we can, from a national level, because we as municipal police are overlooked when it comes to investigation, and we are there's a group of officers right through the country of municipal police that commit crimes, but they are not being investigated properly. One of the reasons I touched on it is that in terms of the Racketeering Act, or in terms of what the Hawks must investigate, there's limits of like 100,000 rand incidents, where we are saying is, if you go and look at what bribery is being committed by traffic officers and municipal police officers, if an officer works 8 to 10 hours a day, and he have contact in that session with members of the public, and he issues a fine every hour, he needs to issue 8. So very quickly you can do maths. If he doesn't issue, it's like 2 to 3 minutes to issue a fine. If it's an argument and a long lecture as well, let's make it 10 minutes. He still need to issue 50 to 60 in his normal day, because he's been employed as a law enforcement officer, not a shoe salesman. He must arrest people, he must give notices, that he must do law enforcement. However, there's officers that issue 1 fine in 6 months or 1 in a year. And when you start looking at that and you calculate the possible contact that he had with public and the amount of complaints on the other side, and then the rumors of, if it's a drunken driving, it's 4,000, 5,000 rand, and you start calculating that, you will see that those type of officers is actually doing 100, 200,000 rand a month, if based from that, if you start just doing normal maths. And then you start looking at how officers live. They drive luxury vehicles, they live luxury estates. And when you ask your own counsel and you ask anyone, but can we do lifestyle audits on officers? It's always no, it doesn't allow it. So lifestyle audits is reserved at the moment for maybe the heads of departments or the city managers or the mayors. There's lifestyle audits. But at a lower level, there is no lifestyle audits at all. That's something that need to be, according to me, made compulsory, is that you cannot be a law enforcement officer and not be vetted to do your work.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I wanted to draw your attention perhaps to something that might require correction. The case you just discussed at page 17, you cite as a Boxback CAS 2620223. If you turn to page 19, paragraph 36, third line from the bottom, you refer to a case number 262032023.
It's correct, Commissioner. It's March. It's
It's
262 of March.
Okay. So in this table, we should correct the 02 to 03. For
Correct.
the correct CAS number. Thank you. That then leads us to your second case that you have since learned of since your last meeting with IPID on the 6th of March 2023. Thanks.
Correct. In the very first week, this matter already took place in 2024, but in the very first week of my retirement, and a lot of people, private people, didn't know that I retired. So they will still send me as if I'm the deputy chief at Ekurhuleni. They will still send me information and tell me stuff that happened. And this is publicly in the news as well, where 6 officers from the drug enforcement unit was arrested because they extorted plus minus 80,000 rand from a foreigner. These officers were arrested, detained, they were released on bail, and those officers have to date not been disciplined. Not even a disciplinary matter started against them. And they are reporting directly to Dion Singh, the brigadier that was suddenly promoted last year by Mkhwanazi as well. He reported directly to him. It's a drug enforcement unit. They've been what the officers speak to me and phone me and say, can it not be fixed? They were actually promoted in the sense that they've been deployed to do VIP protection, where they protect the people that stay behind, which is no threat analysis, nothing has been done on them at all. So they are being put as drivers for Bihari, for Kasheka, for Sarah Chita. They've been made drivers for these officers. So it's as if these officers has now suddenly been protected and they just moved aside from their drug enforcement unit and they are being protected by them. But this happened after I left already. So it's information that's constantly being sent to me about this arrest that took place. And I saw it in the news as well, that it happened. But the incident took place in 2024 as well. And it's also investigated by IPID. And IPID did the arrest when they were detained.
Thank you.
Are you moving off the table?
I was going to.
Okay. In the first item, the blue lights one, right at the end of your explanation, you say you were informed, that very last sentence, you say you were informed by IPID of direct links between CAT VIP and Ekurhuleni politicians. Do you care to explain a little bit more there, if you're able to?
What happened there is that the same journalist who queried initially, Mr. Jeff Wicks, he had, at that same time, he was busy running an expose in News 24 where every day or every week he would release a snippet of information. And the information he released was more aimed at the Tembisa Hospital finance scandal where the whistleblower Babita Dukaran was murdered. So the angle that he approached was from that side. And he attached that then to the Brigadier Mkhwanazi, as the newspapers called him Blue Light Blesser. So in that situation, these links were made, is that this hospital scandal linked is to politicians based in Ekurhuleni, plus it is linked to this Blue Light Blesser then who assists them as a policeman to get all their functions performed in there. That is how that came up. It's part of the newspaper article expose that Mr. Wicks did.
Okay, and then lastly, I mean, we've gone through the list of the criminal conduct that, or the alleged criminal conduct that you discussed with Mr. Magagula, and some of it it has been raised by commissioners as matters for disciplinary action, and you've explained why. Is it a case of, because of the environment, those who had the authority to request disciplinary or to even authorize disciplinary action, such as yourself and the chief, simply gave up on it? And I ask because we, at least in the case of the blue lights, we have a request from the chief for a tribunal, disciplinary tribunal to be set up. So we know there's a process which the senior people like yourselves could instigate, and yet we don't have anything done in respect of the others, the many cases that you've referred to. Is it fair to say you simply gave up on initiating disciplinary processes?
No, Commissioner. The thing is that we, as the deputy chiefs, we give it to the chief, and it goes through the chief's office to the HR to actually deal with it, to appoint the presiding and the presenting officers, and to make sure that the disciplinary proceeding is happening. However, Chief Mapie was sidelined completely, and he was victimized, and he was suspended, and he was placed on special leave. And every time when he was placed on special leave or anything like this happened, the then Deputy Chief Mkhwanazi was the acting chief, and he failed to forward it to the correct HR processes. So it is not that we didn't try to do anything. I was even accosted that we are trying to push the matter on a criminal side, and I was threatened by the city manager in the same manner as what the chief was. So even though we tried to, and we tried to go to period that we are, we tried to inform them and say, carry on with this matter, what is the challenges and the problems? But then the chief would be placed on special leave, or we would be suspended. And then Mkhwanazi was acting, and nothing happened then with these matters.
When you say you were threatened by the city manager, I mean, if it's still coming, if it's something that you're still going to deal with,
is still coming,
is it still, okay, all right, that's fine, I'll leave it then. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloyi. That leads us then to paragraphs 36 and 37 of your statement, Commissioner, and you deal with 3 annexures in a row, RS 13, RS 14, and RS 15. And the 3 annexures relate to the quote-unquote blue lights issue. Am I correct in your paragraphs 36 and 37?
Correct, Commissioners. RS 13 is my original affidavit, which was commissioned at the Crystal Park Police Station and signed related to the registration of the vehicle, false registration of the vehicles in the city's name, and the operational plan that was falsified, the uttering that took place. So RS 13 is my original affidavit.
And we have dealt, I believe, quite extensively with the issues from your perspective relating to this matter. And this affidavit more or less reiterates what you've already told the commissioners. Is there anything out of this affidavit that perhaps you believe we may not have brought to the commissioners' attention that you would want to do so now? It would appear that we have covered everything.
No, it's correct. Everything up to now is covered actually in my affidavit.
Okay. The next one then is your RS 14. And this you describe, appearing at page 41 of the annexures file, this you describe as a picture of the docket in respect of the case registered by Mr. Magagula.
Correct. When you do an affidavit and you are the A1 complainant in a police docket, which is the SAPS 3, there's an annex in the front of that statement, which is the 3M statement portion, which then state the date and the time and the station where it's registered, and then the CAS number that is there. It goes part of your A1 affidavit. This gets put on front to lead that, which is then registered with SAPS in a normal docket.
And lastly, at paragraph 37, you've got your RS 15. And lastly, at your paragraph 37, you've got an extra RS 15. You had, I think, briefly touched on this in explaining the fate of the criminal case you had caused to be opened regarding this blue lights issue. And can you deal then with
Correct.
an extra RS 15, which you say is proof that the matter was withdrawn?
This is a screen print of the CAS system that the South African Police Services use, listing this CAS number in the top right corner, 26203 of 2023. It states the date when it was registered and when it was handed over to the first investigator on the SAPS system only. It's not the real investigator then. But then at the last date at the bottom, it's 2023 10/12, which is 12 October 2023 at 16:27. It states the investigating officer. I don't know if I can mention his name or should mention his name.
He's a public official.
It was Lieutenant Colonel Mike Whiskey Mkhwanazi, and it was then, and this is Afrikaans version, it was closed as onopgespoor, which means undetected.
What does undetected mean?
It's when you don't have any evidence in any docket and you cannot do anything further than it's undetected. It's if I, for instance, let's say there's a break-in at my house tonight and my motorcycle is stolen and the detectives come out, investigate everything, there's no fingerprints, there's nothing, they cannot find anything, there's no CCTV footage, then it will be very close to say, but they can't find any evidence on the scene, the docket is undetected and the docket will be closed as undetected.
How do you reconcile that conclusion with the IPID report we looked at, we worked through on Friday, in terms of which IPID made certain specific findings of fraud and corruption in respect of these very activities and recommended that Brigadier Mkhwanazi be disciplined? How do I reconcile that IPID finding in the human resource environment with this undetected finding now in the criminal case arising from the same facts?
I cannot answer that, Commissioner. That's why I say this is very strange, that a local police station at a station is actually closing the docket as if it's undetected and it's archived and stored in the archive and not being further